Good. All right, everybody.
Good.
Matt, I'm not there. Okay. Ron, what was your general message to players after practice today? After you told them what you told them on Thursday, and they come out here and you didn't seem too happy.
Well, we we started quickly. We did some good things early, but as practice lingered on, wasn't good enough. Basically that's what I told them. I said wasn't good enough. In all honesty, I did acknowledge I thought the defense had a good day, but my point is we didn't have a good day as a complete team, and that is something that we've got to get corrected. And if we're not doing it, if part of us aren't doing it, the rest of us got to bring everybody along. We have to take ownership of ourselves, and that really was my message.
Regarding your diagnosis, are you more concerned? Do you have to take extra precautions dealing with this during a pandemic, no less?
No. Again, I appreciate the question, but just so everybody understands, we've made the statement on my situation, circumstances. I'm fine. I'm gonna work through this. As I said, we have have a plan B, which you guys have heard. It involves Jack stepping up. He's been through this before when he was with Coach Fox in Denver. So I've got a guy that's been a head coach, has been in this situation before. That's what the plan is. So I'm not going to talk anymore about Plan B, just so everybody knows. And secondly, just so everybody knows, Plan B will be implemented on those days that I will struggle. Believe me, I'm not being rosy about this. I'm being honest. Is that I know I'm going to struggle. So those days that I do, I'm going to have to ask the coaches to step up, and I'm going to have to ask the players to step up and take ownership. So again, I understand the significance of what I'll be going through. I understand how tough it's going to be. But again, those days that I can, I will work. Those days that I can be on the field, I will be on the field. And you guys will see it, and you'll know if I'm there. Hey, we're business as usual, and if I'm not, it's Plan B. I don't expect that to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope I can make every practice, but just in case I can't, we have a plan for that going forward. And as I said before, the prognosis is good, so I'm fairly confident. And again, I can't wait to get started and get this thing over with and go forward.
Ron, was it good then, just given the last 2 days, to get out there and to focus just back on football?
Yes, it is very good. It really is, because that's one of the things that the doctors talked about was, hey, let's when you can work, focus on that, because it'll detract from the other things that are going on, and a lot of times that helps get people through situations and circumstances. So again, my intent is to do everything I'm supposed to do. Follow the doctors very carefully, and again, then the other things I can do, I will do.
And obviously, like you said, you talked about Plan B, but are there things you can do to prepare even now, the things you stress with the players to kind of prepare them on the chance that maybe you have to miss, just things that you're emphasizing so people to kind of hammer home the point?
Very much so, and it's about the way we practice and how we do things. Again, we want to practice fast. We want up tempo, so that again, it becomes second nature, becomes habit. It helps produce a feel that And again, today wasn't good enough. Today was not acceptable. And so if this is what's going to happen, then we're going to struggle. We can't accept it. I can't allow that to happen. And so that's why I voiced my feelings today with the players.
Thank you.
Ron, just your thoughts on the quarterback play today?
They all had their moments. They really did. I mean, I was pleased with some of the decisions that were made for the most part. And again, that's probably the biggest thing right now, guys. It's about the decisions that are being made. Are they making the right decisions? And then we break it down from there. When we talk about that was a bad throw or your footwork was poor on that, that's the thing that we're trying to get across is the quarterback throwing the ball where he needs to throw the ball? Can he make a quicker decision? Was that a late decision? Those are all kinds of things that help in the development of our quarterback. As I said, today they had their moments. But when we got into the 2-minute drill, when we got into the move the ball portion of practice, I wasn't as happy as I would have liked to have been.
And with regards to the offensive line, you're obviously down a couple of players at least. How is that challenge trying to figure out what guys you have, be cohesive offense, you don't have all the pieces you might have otherwise?
Exactly. I mean, because we have a section of the offensive line you feel very, very comfortable with, okay? And it's the other guys that we're mixing in, trying to find out if they fit. And that was on exhibition today for us in terms of coaches. We'll go back, we'll look at the tape, and we'll see the good and the bad. We'll see the rotations, we'll see who the different combinations are guys, and we'll try to get a feel for whether or not we feel these guys are going to help us or not. We have an opportunity, I think, to really mix some guys in. As you mentioned, a couple of guys unfortunately haven't been able to practice. We'd love to see those guys out as soon as they're ready to roll and get them back on the field.
Hey Ron, you mentioned opportunity. Do you get the sense that the young players in particular are getting that sense of opportunity? Like, I think Wes Morris is maybe a guy that...
Exactly. Wes is most certainly one of the guys that has an opportunity. He's got a good chance to become part of what we want to do going forward, and he's got to understand that, and he's got to grasp that reality. He's got to take it, do the extra things that he's supposed to. Get in your book, spend a little bit more time with the coach, work a little bit closer with the center and whoever the potential left tackle can be. Get a good feel and understanding for what it takes to be that guy.
And then, Julie, you mentioned the other day that you'll need proton therapy and some other stuff. Do you know if you'll need surgery at all for your diagnosis?
No, guys, again, we made the statement. We talked about what we're going to do, so I'm not going to address that anymore. Again, if you want to know anything, just refer back to the statement. Thank you.
Wino?
Hey Ron, what was the situation with that East Moss? I guess hoping he lands on IR, so he's kind of a long-term piece for you guys?
Yes, he is. Again, he had foot surgery, had a little bit late, and it's one of those things that is hindering his ability to go out and work. And so knowing, what his potential is, knowing what he did in college football, knowing his skill set, it's like, okay, he's not healthy enough to get out there every day, and he would just fall further and further behind. So again, because one of the options we have is the foot is still sore and he's still bothering him, is to put him on IR.
JP?
Hey Ron, I know you called out Wes in your speech after practice. How do you feel the other young players are taking advantage of their opportunities here?
Well, again, that's why I did it. I didn't intend to make him an example, but I wanted him to understand clearly that we believe enough in him that we're willing to give him this opportunity. And that's one of the things that we wanted to get across to Wes. We think he's got the kind of skill set it takes. He played a lot of football last year for a young guy, played well, and he's got to understand you've got to play well all the time.
Thanks.
Hey Ron, nice to see you again. In terms of evaluating the offensive line competition, how do you do that when you have pieces of it missing, so Charles being out, Wes Woodson being out? How do you guys really evaluate who's doing what, or what exactly you guys may or may not have when all the people aren't there to see them basically? Well,
the biggest thing, Maria, more so than anything else, is it starts by watching the individual and seeing how he's doing with his techniques and how he's using his skill set. Second, then you see how well he works with the guys next to him. Okay, and again, that really, I think, can help tell you what you need to know about whether a guy will fit or not. We had a young man a few years back that, when you watched him do individual drills, he looked terrible, to be honest with you. But when he got plugged in and played, he played very well with the center and the tackle, and you thought to yourself, okay, there's something different about this guy when he's in a team or a unit setting. And that's what we're really looking for, is to see how a guy meshes with the unit. It doesn't matter which unit of guys he's playing with, if he can communicate with these guys, work in terms of the blocking schemes or the protection schemes, then you feel like you have something there. That's really what we're looking for, is what is the guy's skill set like? How does he use his skill set? And then how does he work with the guys that he's on the field with together?
Okay. When you first got hired, one of the things that you talked about was how important it is to have someone on your coaching staff that has that head coaching experience, and you mentioned that with Jack Del Rio, and just in general how much you enjoy working with them. Basically, my question is that what was it like having that conversation with him, telling him, hey, you will be if I need you to step up, you'll be the guy. But then also, again, going back to that point, how happy are you that you have him on your staff in a situation where something like this does come up?
Well, and it's not necessarily just this type of situation, but, my first stint, I didn't have a former NFL head coach on my staff. And so I really didn't have anybody to turn to or anybody to come up and say, hey, coach, think about this, or hey, coach, try this. Jack's done that to me a couple of times already and said, hey, we used to do it this way, coach. You think this might help? And I said, you know what, you're right. So we've adapted those things. Believe me, I don't know everything. And when you have guys that have been there, that know the same thing that you have, they become very helpful. I have a great saying that I really do appreciate. It's called, don't draw me a map unless you've been there. Jack's been there, and he's been very helpful. He really has. So to have a guy like that on your coaching staff that you can rely on for moments of, hey, how do we do this? Or, hey, did you ever do it this? In fact, Jack and I had a conversation the other day about fourth down. And it just kind of shows you the importance of having that kind of guy around. And now with this situation and circumstances we have, his value for us is even more so.
Thank you, Ron.
Hey, Ron. I was wondering when you were talking to the team the other day and you were telling them about this, is there kind of a thought when you're doing it about, we're trying to build something here, this is maybe a moment in that?
Without a doubt, because to me, it's okay. Let's say coach has to step back. Are we going to wait for somebody else to step up, or are we going to step up ourselves? So I think this is all part of our growth. I really do. And, again, it's going to be a learnable moment, and we'll find a little bit more out about ourselves.
I mean, you made a ton of speeches to teams over the years. Was that the hardest, or was that the one maybe you thought more about, or?
It's probably one of the ones I've thought more about, to be honest with you. And really, just having to do it in the moment that we did it, it was, like I said, it was just probably one of the things I've had to think about the most.
With no preseason games, obviously we've seen you run a lot of 11-on-11 out there. How important is this chunk of training camp? Everybody's acclimated, but you're still pretty far out from the game. Well,
I think it's very important because part of what we're doing, not just about seeing how we do things in terms of X's and O's, but there's a callousness to playing this game you have to develop and build. The guys have got to be able to deal with the little bumps, nicks and aches that you get from playing physical and pushing each other around. I mean, this game is like no other. And so the thing that we have to do is during these periods, we have to take advantage of the opportunities to be in pads. This will be a three padded practice days in a row for us. So by the third day, we'll see where our guys are. And I know it's going to be tough, but that's the nature of the game. So again, it's an opportunity to build a callousness. We have to practice smart, though. We've got to make sure we're learning and we're getting better every time we get onto that field.
When we talk to you after that third practice, what would be a successful 3 days? What do you want to see?
That the tempo was good all 3 days. We had a good tempo today. We really did. But as I said, at the end it started to wane. Well, we play 3-hour football games. And for us to start to wane at the 2-hour and 10-minute mark, that's not good enough. You can't accept that, You want to see that last for 3 hours. Now, we don't have 3-hour practices, and typically our practices are between 2 hours and 2 hours and 15 minutes. But as we go through this and we start getting into those extended practices, and like I said, at the 2-hour, 10-minute mark, we're in the middle of a move the ball session and we're dragging our butts, that's not good enough. I mean, because that's only 2 hours and 10 minutes. Imagine going into the fourth quarter, reaching the 3-hour mark, and we're walking. We can't have that. So again, we've got to continue to work, continue to develop, our callousness to playing this game, so that this becomes our normal. It's again, the saying goes, you got to learn to be comfortable when you're uncomfortable.
Take 3 more.
Hey Ron, we talked a lot about depth and who's in the one, but I wonder this year, is it even more so that it's important to have depth? Or do you think
Yes.
that's a little overblown?
No, you have to have depth, especially when you're a young team that's developing and growing, especially when you have young guys in key positions. We look at the wide receiver position, and that's one where we've got a lot of guys that have an opportunity and they have to step up. They really do. We've got, unfortunately, we have the situation. One of our guys, and Kelvin we lost him for the year. So we've got guys that have to understand that there's a chance, there's an opportunity for them to step up, take advantage of that opportunity. Show us what you can do. Separate from the other guys in the groups so that we notice you when you're on the field.
When you had some linemen to work out yesterday or a couple days ago, what did you learn about that process? And then going forward into the season, if you need to bring somebody in, is that going to be a situation where you think that'll be smooth enough, or do you think maybe I have to bring in a guy I know?
It's a smooth. This worked smoothly because we knew how much time we had to have to bring them in, get them tested, get them cleared, and then get them on the field. We actually had them work out yesterday, and so we lead up to that point, and then bam, they're on the field for us. I think it will work smoothly, but the key though is you've got to plan and map out for this. So if you have any questions on any of your positions, you've got to start thinking ahead of time as to when are we going to invite these guys in, when are we going to get these guys here so they can get cleared through the protocol, work them out, and then decide whether or not to sign them. That's going to be the key going forward, and you're going to rely on your pro department very heavily as far as that's concerned. So Kyle and his guys are most certainly going to be tested. He and Eric have got to work together in terms of mapping out okay, hey, we may be going into the week, so we've got a couple nicks here at this position, coach. Going into next week, we want to bring this group of guys in. Okay, great, then let's go forward with it. Those are the things that we're going to have to be looking at constantly.
Hey, Ron, thanks again for doing this. You've had so much turnover in the secondary outside of Landon. I'm curious, now that we've been out here for 4 days and you've seen this team work for a week or so, what you like and what you've seen out of your secondary, specifically your young corners like Stroman and Moreland, guys of that nature.
Well, I tell you what, it's a good group. I mean, the young guys are doing a nice job. They have stepped up, but so have the veteran guys that we have here as well. I mean, when you look at Darby, you look at Fabian, you look at Fuller, you look at Colvin, and you look at Moreland. I mean, those guys, as five guys go, you feel pretty strong about it. And you throw the young guys in the performances they've had, you feel pretty comfortable going in with corners. One of the things that you do want is you want to be able to have some continuity so that for the next few years you have the same group of guys coming in and out of each season. That builds the cohesiveness that you need to be a really good secondary. I like what we've gotten out of the safety position. I think these guys are all competing. We've taken an extended look at Troy. We're looking at DeShazer. We're looking at Davis, Reeves. I mean, these guys are guys that are showing what they could potentially do alongside Colin. So I think it's a group that you could feel good about saying, hey, this is our starting group. But you also say, wow, I like our depth. I mean, we've got 5 or 6 safeties we like. We got 5 or 6 corners. We actually, 6 or 7 corners. I mean, this really is a good group, and it's funny because I was talking with Eric Stokes and Coach Rogers about our secondary here, and said, this group is better than some of the groups we had in Carolina, especially during our run from 2013 to 2017. So there's potential for growth, and there's potential for us to have a good unit, but again, these guys got to continue to work at it, and just can't accept where we are right now.
Got time for one more.
Coach Kerry Chow with NBC Washington. Thanks for doing this. You mentioned talking to your team this week. It was a learning moment for everyone. Considering everything you've gone through with 2020 and, of course, with the diagnosis, what have you learned about yourself over those last few days?
Well, just that, again, it's, for me personally, it's another challenge, and just a challenge that I accept. I understand what it is, and I'm realistic about it. And I'm just, I've got to continue to be the person that I am and be disciplined about it. Go about my business, do things that I need to do, take care of those things. But more importantly and one of the doctors said it very eloquently, is that at some point, Coach, you're going to have to be selfish. Take care of you. So again, I'm realistic about this, trying to be realistic about the approach.
All right.
Cool.